Hey guys, welcome back to our virtual Latin class. This first sentence is, okay, these other two sentences are pretty tough, and I'm sure a lot of you guys had a tough time with them. But let's begin in prayer, as we're still in the Easter season. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Pater noster, qui es in caeli, sanctificetur nomen tuum. Adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. All right, guys, so we're doing sentence 21 on page 58. We'll start with this one. Pueri ad dextram specta verant ut gladios malorum oculis viderent. All right. So for this first sentence, we're going to start with pueri. We notice that right away that it's a noun, right? We're going to look at the gender number in case. Well, it's boys, so it's masculine and it's plural. And it could be, like we've always pointed out, it could be nominative plural or it could be genitive singular. But since its position in the sentence is here and it doesn't modify in other words, we're probably going to go with the nominative plural. So it's the boys. So the boys are doing something in the sentence. Then we see this, ad dextrum. Ad, you remember, is a preposition. It governs the accusative case, right? And it's to what? Well, this dexter, dextra, dextrum is to the right. So this is feminine and singular and accusative. So this is the object of the preposition ad. Ad dextram. So the boys to the right. So far so good. The boys to the right. Now we come right to the verb, specta verant. We notice we have the third principal part stem, so we either have the perfect, the pluperfect, or the future perfect. When we look here, we see era. All right, we see era, specta verant, and we see era. And era is the tense sign for the pluperfect. So it's had looked at, all right? Or had looked, all right? So it's they had looked. So the boys had looked to the right, okay? The boys had looked to the right. Now we're going to find out why. What was the purpose of them looking to the right? So we look at that where we see ut, right? And so it's the introduction of a purpose clause. And this is not a command, so it's not an indirect command. It's a purpose clause. So we see ut here, and then we will say that means in order that. In order that. All right? And what? In order that what? Gladios. That's another noun. This is a conjunction, by the way. Gladios is another noun. It is masculine, it is plural, and it is accusative. So it's the receiver of the action, the direct object. All right? Gladios. So that's swords. So something is happening to the swords in the second clause. Swords. Now, they're not just any swords. These swords are malorum. Now, does that mean they're bad swords or evil swords? No. Because we look at this, remember, adjectives agree with the nouns they modify in gender, number, and case. But this doesn't agree in case. This is odum. So this is genitive plural and masculine. So it is masculine, it is an adjective, but it is genitive, plural, and masculine. So it's the swords, what? Of the evil men. This is a substantival adjective. It's the swords of the evil men. In order that the swords of the evil men, oculis. Now we know that is oculus oculi, it's masculine, it is plural, and it could be either ablative or dative. All right. Now we don't have a verb of giving, showing, or telling, so we probably have the ablative, and this is the ablative of means. The ablative of means. So it's a noun in the ablative of means. All right. So oculis, the eyes, with the eyes, and then finally we didn't. Because this is pluperfect, we have this in the imperfect subjunctive, which means this action is happening at the same time as this verb, secondary sequence. So we have we didn't. So that would be they see or they might see, right? Because this is in the past. So in order that they might see. All right? So let's see how this all runs together. What you have when you tie it all together is the boys had looked to the right in order that they might see the swords of the evil men with their eyes. There is not there, but it's understood. So again, the boys had looked to the right in order that they might see the swords of the evil men with their eyes. And that is sentence 21. And now, through the magic of editing, we are back for sentence 22. Amazing. All right. So this is a long one and a tough one. So let's take a look at this. We start off with the verb. That's interesting. We don't see that very often. And you'll notice it's got the enclitic at the end, the enclitic indicating a yes or no question. So we have widistisne. Widistisne. And what is widistisne? Well, wid, right, is the stem of the perfect stem for video. Istis is the second person plural in ne. So, it's asking a question in the perfect tense. So it could be one of two things. It could be, did you see? You plural, that's y'all. Istis is y'all. Did you all see? Did you all see? Or you could also word this, have you seen? Have you seen? All right. So it's a question. Did y'all see or have you seen? What? Well, we're going to get right to that. What have you all seen? They're asking whether you've seen this or not. The magnum bellum. Well, magnum is a adjective, right? And it could be nominative or accusative neuter, or it could be nominative, accusative, neuter, singular, and neuter, or it could be nominative or accusative, singular, masculine, right? But it's modifying a word, another noun in the sentence directly, and that is bellum, right? Bellum. And that is the war. Now, that is the war. Okay, the Great War, or the Great War. Bellum, right? So this is neuter, plural, neuter, plural, and accusative. We know it's accusative because we already have a subject. The subject is y'all. We already have a subject. So even though it could be nominative, we know it's not. So did you all see the Great War, or have you all seen the Great War in compis? In is a preposition. In this case, it governs the ablative. It governs the ablative case. So it's an ablative of place where, compis, in the plains. In the plains, right? This is the ablative of place where. So the first clause would read, have you seen the Great War in the plains? Have you seen the Great War in the plains, or did ye all see the Great War in the plains? All right, now we're going to get an answer. Now, this is unusual. We haven't seen this very often. You'll notice the C does not stand first in the sentence, and that is perfectly okay in Latin, because they're wanting to emphasize the women here. They're wanting to emphasize that before they get to the idea of the conditional sentence, and that can be done in Latin. So we have feminae, and feminae is in this case, it is the nominative plural form. The nominative plural form. So it could also be the genitive singular, but again, given its position isolated at the beginning of the sentence, is not modifying another word, it is more than likely the nominative plural, all right, and it is feminine. So the women, if, and you see how this works. The women, if, with the conjunction, the women, if, okay, if, what? If bellum vidicent. Now remember, when we see that we have a conditional sentence, we can cheat and look at the verbs. And we see vidicent and monuisent. So we have a past contrary to fact condition. All right, a past contrary to fact condition. So the women, if, okay, the women, okay, bellum, war. And this would be accusative. Okay, because we already have a subject. Bellum, war, accusative, singular, and neuter. Okay, accusative and neuter. So the war, and vidicent. So remember, it's in this with these clauses. It's had and then would have in the second clause. So this would read. You could say it a couple of ways. You could say the women, if they had seen the war, or you could say if the women had seen the war. Either one of those works. So the women, if they had seen the war, or you could say if the women had seen the war. All right? Okay, remember natos, right? That is accusative and plural and masculine. That's the sons. All right? So the women have sons, right? They're going to be talking to, apparently, because this is in the accusative. So it's receiving the action. Sons is not the subject of this sentence because it's in the accusative case. And then we see magnis cum lacrimis. Remember I told you this with the ablative of manner. Okay? Magnis cum lacrimis. Sometimes the adjective that is modifying the object of a preposition is outside of the preposition. So great with tears, literally. Great with tears. Or you could say, as an adverb, very tearfully. Okay? So the women, the sons, something's happening to them, tears, with great with tears, monuisent. They would have warned or they would have advised. So the women are doing something here. It says, so it would read this way, guys, this next clause. If the women had seen the war, okay, so let's look at this one again. Remember, this is ablative and plural, and this is the ablative of means. The ablative of manner. It's how they're doing something. The ablative, plural, and these are both feminine, lacrimis, and because this is a feminine noun, this adjective would be feminine. And then the verb is plural, third person, and pluperfect subjunctive, just like this one is third plural pluperfect subjunctive. They would have warned their sons with great tears. Now here's the trick they play with this one. We're going from a past contrary to fact, and now we're going to make our way to a indirect command. Monuisent is one of the words that can be used for an indirect command. All right, so we go from past contrary to fact condition to ut. Right? And when it's an indirect command, because we have a verb of advising or warning, when it's indirect command, the ut is translated as that. Okay? All right. So, we say, again, let's just go through this and we're going to get to the purpose clause. The indirect command. If the women had seen the war, they would have warned their sons very tearfully or with great tears that, right, malos. Now, again, if you look at this, you'll see immediately, guys, there's no other. This is accusative. This is plural and it's masculine. There is nothing else here that's accusative, plural, and masculine. So it's a substantival adjective. It's the evil men, the bad men, and something is happening to the bad men. Out of the fields. Out of is a preposition. It governs the ablative. Out of. Agris, the fields. This is the object of the preposition. It's the ablative of place from which. Okay, and not just any fields, the fields of the native land. This is genitive and singular and feminine. The fields of the native land, right? Expellorent, all right? They would have warned their sons with great tears that they drive, right? Because it's happening at the same time as the great tears. So that's why it's translated that way. That they drive off the evil men from the fields of the native land. So the whole sentence would read, have you seen the great war in the plains? If the women had seen the war, they would have warned their sons very tearfully that they drive off the evil men from the plains of the fatherland. Now before we get to our last sentence, I want to introduce you to somebody. My grandson was here taking in the Latin class, and here he is, given to me by Lucy. He was enjoying it thoroughly. This is my boy Joaquin, little Joa, and he was enjoying Latin thoroughly that whole time. Lucy actually had her finger in his mouth the whole time so he wouldn't cry. But this is Joaquin. You can say hello to him, and this is his first appearance on YouTube, I think, or not, maybe this first. So, on to the last sentence.
Come here.
All right, these sentences have been pretty tough, and this one is no exception. All right, we have a mixed condition again in a conditional sentence with three clauses and lots of conjunctions. All right, so let's start out with nisi, right? And this is an if not, except, unless. All right, now remember, it's when we look at that, we see that we come to here to aruises, And then we see a mutoisis at the end, and then there's this little thing they throw, this monkey wrench in the middle, which is the imperfect subjunctive. Because remember, we always cheat when we see that conjunction. We look ahead to kind of see what the condition is. So we have a mixed condition between the past contrary to fact and a present contrary to fact. So those two things, you'll see how they work in this sentence. But remember, this is if not, which means they did, right? It's contrary to fact. So whatever happens in this first, in the protasis, the if clause, it did actually happen because it's a negative condition. All right, so the opposite happened, the positive thing happened. So let's look at this. Nisi, which means if not, or unless, or except. It's a conjunction, right? Introducing a subordinate clause. Unless, except. Those are the possibilities there. Okay? Whereby. This is a noun. It's neuter, and it could be either a nominative or accusative plural. So it could be the direct object or it could be the subject, okay? The nominative, accusative, plural, neuter. And what words are we talking about? We're not talking about just any words. We're talking about the words poetarum, right? And that is a genitive, plural, and masculine. And that is limiting whereby. What words? The words of the poet. The words of the poet. Now we come to the end of our first clause and we see adiuises. And we know now that this is not the subject. We know it is the accusative, right? Because the subject is here. It's in this personal ending. It's you. So this is a verb. It is plural. It is third person. It is. I'll take all that back. It is singular. It is second person. All right, and it is the pluperfect subjunctive. Okay, second person singular, pluperfect subjunctive. All right, so if you had not heard the words of the poets, that's our first clause, but you did. That's the good news. The warning is if you had not heard the words of the poet, but it's contrary to fact, but you did. All right. Nihil. Now remember, that's an indeclinable noun. It's neuter, so it could be the nominative plural, a nominative singular, or the accusative singular, and it is both neuter. So it could be nothing, could be the object, or it could be the subject. So nothing, and this is de. De is a preposition. It governs the ablative, right? And it could be from or concerning or about. It governs the ablative. And this, in this case, it's not from, but concerning or about, not down from. Natura, that's the object of the preposition. Concerning the nature, nothing concerning the nature, right? What nature? Nature of what? Well, we have our answer in this next sentence, right? So this is the noun, by the way. This is ablative and singular and feminine. And it is the object of the preposition de. Concerning the nature what? Nature of the soul. This is another noun. It is genitive, singular, and it is genitive, singular, and it is feminine. All right, and then we have a linking. We have a conjunction, a coordinated conjunction. Okay, that is coordinating these two words, animae and vitae. Nothing about the nature of the soul, and, okay, again, genitive, because remember, this conjunction always links objects or links words of similar constructions. All right? So vitae, we have genitive, singular, and feminine. Okay? And it would be nothing concerning the nature of the soul and of life. Now, that's an adverb of time. Okay? And sentires. So this is that mixed condition. This is where we get that present contrary to fact, right? That's why the now is there. It's happening in the present. Okay, and sentire, remember, is perceive. And this is the imperfect subjunctive, second person, imperfect subjunctive, second singular. It's the verb, obviously. All right, so it would be if you had not heard the words of the poets, nothing concerning the nature of the soul and of life now would you perceive, okay? Or you would perceive nothing. That would be the better way to translate it. So if you had not heard the words of the poets, but you did, you would be perceiving nothing, or you would perceive nothing concerning the nature of the soul and of life. And then we have yet another et, but this et is not linking two words together, it's linking a clause. This last clause here, which completes the past contrary to fact, is here. So et is linking a clause. It's another coordinating conjunction. Okay, coordinating conjunction. All right, and we have vitam now. So this is life, all right, but it's in the accusative. We already saw vita in the genitive. This is feminine and singular and accusative. All right, and what life? A wretched life, okay? A wretched life. This is an attributive adjective. Notice it's also feminine, singular, and accusative. And it's an attributive adjective modifying this one. Okay, there's the accusative. Vitam miseram. And non is an adverb of negation. All right? And mutavises is our continuation of the past contrary to fact. This is a second person singular and pluperfect subjunctive. All right? All right. So how does this all tie together? All right? You would be perceiving nothing concerning the nature of the soul and of life, and you would not have changed your wretched life. But the lucky thing is you did hear the words of the poets, because now you did change your wretched life. So that is the happy ending to the sentence. So the whole sentence would read, if you had not heard the words of the poets, you would be perceiving nothing. You would now be perceiving nothing concerning the nature of the soul and of life, and you would not have changed your wretched life. Wonder how many of you got that. That's a tough sentence, but that's the end of the sentences. Remember, you got a vocab test next Thursday. You should be studying for that hard. So thank you for joining me for this class. I apologize for the difficulty of these sentences. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you for the vocab test next week. You have 3 more sentences to do this weekend to get us geared up for our translation test. Thank you for listening.